Our first guest is, well, she comes to us from the Katie Couric Show. She comes to us from Oakland University. She's a professor of sociology at Oakland University. She has worked a practice and created a very important place across the nation as the relationship expert, who's known as the Love Doctor. She's a prolific author. She's studied about several hundred couples, I think it's 700 couples for the last 25 years through the University of Michigan's Institute for Social Research, a National Institute of Health grant that she's been working on, where she's tracked what happens to relationships over that period of time. It's resulted in 2 books and TV shows. Dr. Terri Orbuch, welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Great. Good morning.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
So did I accurately describe all of your accolades and
did.
what you...
Thank you very much. Absolutely.
Well, it's a pleasure having you back. You've been
Thank you.
a guest on Graceful Aging for 2 other times, and we've gotten a lot of wonderful comments about how you've helped relationships all over for several years now.
Thank you.
It's an exciting job, isn't it?
Yes. Relationships are wonderful. I love them professionally and personally. I've been married for 22 years, and I have 2 teenage children as well.
Well, that can test any relationship.
Yes, that's true. Over time.
I would imagine, I didn't ask you this before, but children, once they're out of the house, that can be a blessing, but these days they're coming back into the house as well. How does that affect a relationship?
That is true. I think when children come back, it has a negative effect on relationships over time. So many couples look forward to when the children leave and they can finally get back together and have some time with each other. But when children come back into the household, that changes things. Less time, more worry, concern over the children.
Now, should we be hopeful with long-term relationships? So many of our audience members have been in long-term relationships. Are we hopeful that they can find zest and fervor?
Absolutely, Greg. I think it just takes some simple things to add some spice and some passion and excitement, fun back into your relationship. What happens is that at the beginning of a relationship, everything is exciting and fun and passionate, but that declines over time, as we all know in this room. So it just takes some simple changes, and you definitely can get that spice back into your relationship.
But if I'm not a happy person to begin with, will that affect my ability to boost up a relationship? I guess
absolutely. I think as an individual, we need to be happy with ourselves and confident with ourselves. We also need to know our own needs and expectations about relationships, because you can't expect a partner or a spouse to know what's in your head and in your heart if you don't. So you need to really step back and figure out, what do you want in a relationship, what are your needs, and then come to your partner and share those needs and wants. And then you, as a couple or together, add the spice, add the passion, the fun back into the relationship.
And be hopeful, right? Being hopeful is so important.
I think it's hopeful. I want to say that 50% of the couples that I've been studying for the last 28 years now, last time we met it was 25, now it's 28 years, same couples, 28 years, 50% are still together, and 50% are still happy and together.
But so many couples now aren't talking. It's like I've been sitting across the breakfast table from this guy for years, and she's been making dinner for years. How do people start talking again about their relationship, something serious?
Well, I think first we have to understand that that happens in relationships. I have followed these couples, as I said, for 28 years, and all of the relationships went into what I call a relationship rut, where it was the same old, where you were bored with the person across the table. And so that's typical, that's normal. And so I think that's the first thing that everyone has to recognize, so that you don't get as frustrated when it happens.
Well, how does a man, let's talk with the man in a relationship, how does the man broach the topic? You know, all they've been talking about is just the regular mundane, take out the garbage, pick up the newspaper, who's going to take care of the dog. How do you break out of that rut of a relationship talk into something
Well, first,
sexier?
I think men need to understand that women love to talk about relationships. It's rewarding to us. We love to do it. And what I found in my study is that it's even an aphrodisiac to women. So that when you begin to talk about it, the relationship, or even communicate in general, we love that. It is just wonderful to us. So that's the first thing I think men need to understand. Second, it's all about questions. What I call the 10-minute rule. What you want to do as a man is 10 minutes every single day, come up with some questions that you can ask your partner. And they can be questions totally out of the ordinary. So you don't want to talk about the children. You don't want to talk about money or who's going to do what around the house. But you want to figure out other kinds of questions. Like if you won the lottery, where would you travel to and why? Or what do you want to do in the next 2 years or 5 or 10? So come up with questions. And then as a man, it's all about listening. Look
at tough.
I know it's tough, isn't it? But you know, communication is a two-way street. And sometimes we forget that we need to listen and not just speak. And so use your body language. Look at your wife or partner, look at her in the eye, smile, nod your head. We as women love when you just go, wow, that's so interesting.
So what does a guy need? What does the woman need to do in order to actually foster that conversation?
Well, for men, okay, first I'm going to go back to the women. We as women We as women like to talk face to face. Okay, we like to talk over the dinner table, or we like to watch, see you, look at you. Men like to talk side by side. So as a woman, you want to remember that men like to do something as they're talking. So a lot of the time I encourage women to take a walk with their spouse or partner. And that's how they bring up a topic. Because when men are doing something, doing an activity, and side by side, that's when they feel the most comfortable as well.
Sunday afternoon watching football side by side?
Not the football game. Timing is everything as well, Greg. For women, we have to remember that timing is so important for men. So that when the football game is on, when they're watching a television show, when they come into the house, that is not the best time. So we as women need to figure out what is a good time for our man. And men differ in terms of what's good for them. Some, as I said, like to do it when they are side by side, walking around the mall, walking outside. For others, it might be when they are casually or relaxing on the couch and you sit down and ask a question.
Like, why aren't you picking up those socks? And isn't it about time to take out the garbage? And you don't hang up your coat.
Well, timing is everything, but then how you bring a topic up. I like to encourage women to say a positive comment first. I love what you've been doing around the house lately, or thank you for emptying the dishwasher yesterday. So a positive comment first, and then use your I language if you want to change something in your relationship. So first say, thanks for emptying the dishwasher, honey. And then, I haven't been feeling very comfortable lately about your relationship with my mother. So it's an I statement.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Good one, right?
There we go.
It's an I statement, not a you statement. Because all of those comments that you said, you know, your clothes on the floor, you haven't been doing this, are you statements. And it was with that finger as well, right? Yeah. All men do is they withdraw. They don't want to talk about that topic. They feel defensive, and then they come back with an even stronger, more negative comment. But if you say the positive comment first, and then you use your I language, right? I haven't been feeling very comfortable. They can't deny that because you're the one that's feeling that, and it's not them. You haven't blamed them.
Okay, so you kind of put the topic on the table for discussion.
You put the topic on the table, and it's all about you. You have become responsible for your own feelings.
Let's talk about lust and passion. Is there a difference between lust and passion?
First, I love lust and I love passion, by the way, and all relationships can add that again if it's not present. There's a slight difference, Greg, between lust and passion. Lust is purely physical, purely sexual, and passion combines the emotional and psychological bonding between two partners with that arousal and sexual desire. And I think you can add both, but if you haven't had the passion and lust for a while, start with adding passion back to your relationship. And it's simple, it's easy. You want to think back to what created the passion in your relationship at the beginning.
Isn't that where love was blind?
Yes, absolutely. Love is blind at the beginning of a relationship. And that's why it is there to begin with. As soon as you see your partner and you know them really well, you know what they like to do on Sunday mornings, you know how they eat, right? You know what they eat, you know what you don't like about them. That's when passion declines. So as soon as you know your partner, passion declines. Companionate love, the love of support and friendship and intimacy is created when you know your partner. But the other love, passionate love, declines. So you need to add 3 things to your relationship in order to reignite that passion.
So should I should write these down. Okay,
right.
So number 1, what do you
First is newness, novelty. You can add any new activity into a relationship to recreate the passion.
Now, are you talking about kinky stuff that you're adding? What is
you could, by the way, that's fine. If that's new to your relationship, you could add that.
But it doesn't
have to be that. It can be a new class that you take together. It can be a new dance class, a new restaurant, a new vacation spot, a new place that you walk together, any new activity that the two of you have not done together in the past will recreate the passion, because novelty creates passion and excitement.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is mystery, surprise. You want to use the element of surprise, anything different. Leave your partner a note in the morning. Text them, call them, show up to wherever they're working or volunteering, and it's a surprise. So any mystery, any surprise will recreate that passion, because at the beginning of a relationship, again, everything you did together was different, was surprising. When you learned, what they did as a youngster, where they traveled to, what they wanted to be when they grew up, that was, wow, that's surprising. I didn't know that about you. And that added the excitement. Number 3 is my favorite.
All right, let's hear this
one. It's an arousal-producing activity.
Is there an app for that?
I wish there was. I need to create it. Develop it. What studies show is that if you do an arousal-producing activity with your partner, an activity that produces that adrenaline rush, your blood pressure increases, you begin to sweat a little bit. That means exercise. You can ride a roller coaster ride or any amusement park ride. You can watch a scary movie or even go to a comedy club where you have that big laughter. That is an adrenaline rush activity. If you do it with your partner, the arousal that's produced through that other activity actually can get transferred to your partner and your relationship.
How does that work? So it doesn't work if I go to a scary movie with Bob down the street. No. You have to do it with your partner.
In fact, I always tell couples you need to do it together.
Okay.
So if you ride that amusement park ride alone or with a stranger, the arousal that's produced through the roller coaster ride will get transferred to the stranger. So make sure you exercise, and you don't want that.
That'll be show 2.
Right, exactly. That's show number 2. So when you go to the gym, go with your partner or spouse and exercise right next to them, because the arousal is immediate, and that's what gets transferred to your partner in your relationship. It's almost like tricking your brain chemicals to think that the arousal is not produced through exercise, but it's due to your partner.
Now, I heard you gave one of these TEDx talks recently on this topic, and I heard you speak in that regard. Can it be as simple as rolling down your windows as you're driving and putting a scarf on and enjoying that, or turning the music up loud? Can it be smaller things that produce the arousal transfer?
It can be so simple. Fresh air, as you said, taking a hike, even having a really good heated discussion with your partner.
I mean, the heated seats?
The heated seats. I was talking about the content of the dialogue. I even tell couples to get competitive with each other. Find something that you can get competitive with, like a board game, Monopoly, Scrabble. That can even create that adrenaline rush or arousal. And again, do it with your partner. Do it at home. And you can add that excitement.
But not beating them at the card game
No.
13 consecutive times. That could backfire a little
right,
bit.
exactly. You want to just do it a few times.
Now, as we age, our bodies, gravity takes hold and bodies change. And I hear a lot of comments from people in terms of having a negative self-image about their body. What hints or tips do you have about how people can deal with their body image in a maybe more positive way?
Well, first I should say that you're absolutely right, Greg. In my long-term study on marriage and divorce, most couples did talk about body image changing, both men and women, as they aged, and that having a significant effect on passion, love, and sexual desire. So if you don't feel good about your body, you're much significantly less likely to want to have sex with your partner. And so you really want to figure out how to change that. First, it's all about your expectations and who you're comparing your body to. And we need to change as we age who we're comparing our body to. And so
Vogue magazine?
No, the covers, absolutely not. So find realistic portrayals of women or men your age so that you're not comparing to the 20-year-old. You're comparing to someone more likely to your age or similar to your age, and culturally as well. So that's the first really important thing. Second, remember to find good parts to your body. What we tend to do as individuals is focus on what we don't like instead of what we do like. So I tell individuals to find 5 things that you love about your body from head to toe and write those 5 things down, carry that list with you, and remind yourself, not only as you go throughout your day, absolutely, Greg, write them down, as you go through your day or with your partner or spouse, remember those 5 good qualities instead of saying, oh, my stomach, I hate my stomach.
You mean people would perseverate over something that they don't like?
And in fact, that one negative outweighs 10 positives. So we really need to find 5 positives in order to feel that sexual arousal and attraction.
I would imagine the individual has got to see it themselves. They've got to believe it themselves that they have these 5 attractive parts that they can highlight.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what our partner or spouse says. He can or she can say, you know, you look great, you look wonderful, you're so sexy. It has nothing to do with our body image. So we can't put it on our partner, and partners can't feel as if they're responsible for our body image. It needs to be us. We need to change it. I also encourage people to talk about, though, one's body image with a partner. You know, our partner doesn't often know that we don't like parts to us. Mm-hmm. And so bringing that out in the open, making it a direct conversation and sharing that with our partner is important. Again, don't expect your partner to say anything or to change your body image, but talking about it always helps as well.
All right, well, we've put a lot of things on the table. Let's see if our audience has any questions for a few minutes. Are there any questions that anyone has for Dr. Orbuch? Let me step out here. Please stand up.
Well, I didn't hear you mention anything about being sexy. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear you mention anything about physical passion towards each other. I also wanted to add that one of the things that I do with my husband is I leave messages on his phone. Mm. And that is very effective. It was much more effective than pole dancing.
That was good.
I twisted my knee when I was pole dancing. There's no pole anymore. But I'd like to hear some more about actual physical, passionate sexiness. And how do you stimulate that part of a relationship?
Well, I know that we're going to be talking about the sexual part of a relationship in the next segment, per se. But I'd like to follow up on feeling sexy. And feeling sexy has all to do with the individual rather than the relationship. It's how we feel as an individual. Are we confident with our bodies, and are we confident with ourselves? But there's a difference I found in my study with the relationship between men and women, with the link between emotional closeness and sexual closeness. What I found is that women, in order to feel sexual and sexy, need to feel the emotional bond with their partner or man. And so that when they're talking and feeling close and sharing and being supported by their partner, that's when they feel aroused and sexual and sexy. Men, on the other hand, that link is the opposite. What men or husbands told me is that they need to feel sexual. They need to have sex in order to feel emotional closeness. So the bond is very different. As a result of feeling sexual, as a result of having sex, they felt the emotional closeness and intimacy. So it's important that when it comes to relationships and when it comes to sexuality, men and women are very different. I'm a psychologist, and we know, psychologists know, that men and women are similar on a host of variables and behaviors. But I found when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to relationships, men and women ask different questions. They evaluate their relationships and sexuality differently. And what's important to a man is not always important to a woman.
Here's another question.
I call it the reminder. You're turning on your TV, and all you see are young people. The issue that I see is that you're always getting a reminder that you're out over the, into the other age group. Mm-hmm. And this country is a terrible reminder to us that we're no longer young, and because everything that we see on TV is based on, or see in other areas, is based on youth. And it's a very discouraging image that we constantly live with. There are no reminders that older people can have a sexual relationship and be seen in the world. You're old people.
I agree with you completely first. I think we need to empower ourselves, and we need to give ourselves power to change that. And so if you are surrounded by images and people that are not you and that are giving you those illusions or expectations, then you need to change the people around you. Surround yourselves with people who are like you, because all of us do social comparison. We look at ourselves and we compare ourselves to others around us. So buy magazines like More and Oprah and other magazines, the AARP magazines also, that have images of people just like you. Surround yourselves with friends just like you, or surround yourself with people who appreciate you. Watch television programs. PBS, by the way, has many programs that also have images of people who are older and not so young.
We have one more question.
You say that men need sex to bond, and when men age, the sex isn't always prevalent or there. So if men need this sex to bond, is there another way to bond without actually having sex?
Good question. Thank you for asking that. I should have said, it was my mistake, physical intimacy. I think sexuality means different things to different people, and so that men need physical intimacy, which is touch. And so I think as we age, or as even a relationship develops, we need to come up with different ideas and understandings and meanings of sexuality. So that can be touch, that can be massage, that can be hugging, that can be kissing. What happens when we touch another individual is the hormone oxytocin gets released. And oxytocin is that cuddle hormone. It creates the emotional intimacy and bonding. So if it's not sex, you want to redefine that as physical intimacy. Very good question.
Well, Dr. Orbuch, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
There are a lot of more questions, and of course we'll have you back another time. But you've got a few things out there that people can spot on other channels. You've done an entire PBS show on the secrets from the Love Doctor.
Correct.
Where'd you come up with the moniker, the Love Doctor?
Well, about almost 10 years ago, I realized that all of my research was going in academic journals and nobody was reading or listening to it. And those other relationship experts out there, who I won't name, like Dr. Phil, were not using good science to back what they were saying. So I decided to coin myself as the Love Doctor because I'm all about love and relationships, important to health and well-being.
It's certainly worked. And you've got two. I found the books very interesting. You have a chance if you can take a look at one of these books. One is 5 Simple Steps to Take Your Marriage from Good to Great. It's filled with your study and good suggestions. And then we haven't even touched on the topic of finding love again, those who maybe have lost a relationship or changed a relationship, and 6 simple steps to a new and healthy, happy relationship. Now, let's close on that. I lost my spouse. I've been alone for so long. How do you re-enter the marketplace?
Well, I think first you want to recognize that you're not trying to replace your former spouse. When we think that no one will ever match up, it's really difficult to move forward. So what you want to try to do is get out and find a companion. Find someone to do things with. And don't compare this other person to your former spouse. You don't have to forget that other spouse. Then I think it's important to do things that you like to do. What happens typically is that we meet someone new when we're happy and when we're a part of our own interests. So figure out, what do you like to do? Do you like to go to the library? Do you like to go to bookstores, wine appreciation clubs, the gym, and do things that make you happy?
So make yourself interesting for yourself.
Absolutely.
And it can blossom from there.
Right, and it's the mere exposure effect, M-E-R-E, exposure effect. Mere exposure or contact with other people creates liking between others and us. So we're just more likely to be familiar and like someone else when we're doing things regularly that we like.
And this has been a pleasure for me and our audience. Thank you so much for being a part of Graceful Aging. And thank all of you for watching. We'll see you next time on Graceful Aging.
Thank you.